in the year. So they raised the reporting threshold for another form, 8938, that you're supposed to be sending in with your tax return, and that used to be $50,000 aggregate again. But then they changed that in response to an outcry from overseas people. They raised it to 200,000. It's 200,000 200,000 on the last day of the year, 300,000 any day during the year. Am I right? Okay, that's for a single person filing. Filing separately, it's double that for a couple filing jointly. So that's a big recognition again of our situation, that these people, are different from the guy in Kansas who happens to have a lot of money in Switzerland. We would like them to raise then the reporting threshold for the FBAR in the same way. That does not look like a likely thing at all. We've asked them to increase the budget for the IRS, because it's very easy to say that people aren't complying and aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing when they don't know what they're supposed to do. There are 4 IRS offices in the world. In Kenya, you have to get in touch with London, and large numbers of places in the world you have to get in touch with Beijing, Frankfurt. So that's just not enough. There should be more IRS offices, there should be more people helping and informing and so on, and we think that there should be a joint... How many of you have ever gone to the IRS website? Did you find it easy to navigate around? You immediately found the form you were looking for, right? Okay, so we'd like them to have a joint website for the IRS and Treasury for overseas Americans. Ought to be able to be done. Clubs can set up websites. You would think that the IRS could set one up, but I don't know whether that'll happen. And of course, we also said align the filing deadlines, because people fill out their FBAR and then they have this other form they have to fill out and send with their tax return later, and they realize, oh my gosh, I forgot this on my FBAR. That means my FBAR was wrong. We should be filing those two things at the same time. But anyway, those are our recommendations. You'll find out if anything happens, obviously. Okay. We also think that there should be more of these intergovernmental agreements that we've been talking about. And those will be signed progressively. There are some 50 now being, isn't that it, Darlene? In negotiations. And it looks also, yes, they have recognized the fact that we do have to have foreign pensions, that we work abroad and therefore retire abroad, and they're in the process of setting up a list of the foreign pension plans that would be exempt, okay, from their reporting. But that's coming, and you'll know if anything happens. Okay, yes, this is different. That shouldn't have meetings with Treasury continued. This is Paula Down. Yes.
I can take this mic.
Please do.
As you know, the United States has still not ratified CEDAW, the Women's Bill of Rights. And there are only 7 countries that have not ratified it. Pam, do you have my handout on CEDAW? I'm not sure. Otherwise, I can get it to you by email. But when we were at the U.S. mission on Tuesday, we happened to get these fabulous postcards with Eleanor Roosevelt and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And we thought, what a fantastic opportunity. It is printed and paid for. It says on the back, published by the United States Mission in Geneva. And I thought if you could all take a postcard, or take some for your friends too if we have enough, and send it to your to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee or your senator, and just put the simple message: help get CEDAW ratified. What I would like you to put is to keep it short: universal human rights are women's rights. Ratify CEDAW. Sign your name, your U.S. zip code, and state. That's it, nothing more. We discussed whether we should put FAWCO on there or not, but we think it's more powerful if it's just coming from constituents. But I just think it's a beautiful idea, you know, to take their own thing that they're promoting worldwide about human rights, and we, and the United States is not supporting worldwide human rights for women. So Pam's handing these out, and I would really appreciate if you'd all do this. You have to take it home, put your own stamp on it, but make sure you put your U.S. address and zip code, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. If by any chance you don't know the name of your senator, there are two very easy addresses that you should be very familiar with. Actually, I'm going to give you three. One is www.senate.gov for government. You can go there, you can find the name of your senator, you can click on your senator and get to a contact form for your senator, and so on and so on and so on. Go directly to his office, find his mailing address for this. Okay, www.senate.gov, and same thing, www.house.gov. Because a lot of people living overseas do forget, you know, their district, or, you know, a new guy got voted in and I don't know his name. So use www.house.gov as well. And then there's another one that you might like to know about, which is Thomas. It's called Thomas for Thomas Jefferson. And there's no www, it's just Thomas.LOC for Library of Congress. .gov. So thomas.loc.gov. And Thomas tells you anything you want to know about any bill introduced anywhere. And you enter the name of the bill number, or you can say, you know, what's my senator just introduced? He apparently did something. What's actually in that bill? It's a great website for you to know. Okay, so this time you're going to be able to find your senators and send this postcard off. Remember that you have 2 senators?
Then we need 2 cards.
Yes,
Take another card.
Take them back to your car, please. I'm going to leave them on the desk. Our full address, or is the zip code enough?
She just said.
Paula, is the full address or zip code is enough?
Yeah, well, I think just the zip code in the state is enough, isn't it, Lucy?
Should be.
Yeah. Yeah, the 4 digits, just so that they know that you're really a voter from their district. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes? No, I think if you mail them at home, it's fine. From different countries, yeah. I'm sorry, Ella? Because that would be a lot cheaper, you know, give Eleanor whatever it costs in the States.
Don't we want to give them some indication that Americans living overseas voting are paying attention to what they're doing?
Well, the postcard's printed from the U.S. Mission in Geneva, so they know you didn't pick it up at Walmart.
I've got 2 of the stupidest senators you can find.
I'm sorry.
When I ask people to write back to their senators or congressmen about other things, I always say, start your thing off by saying, I am a Southbury, Connecticut voter, and I live overseas. It's a good idea. Anytime you email them back, you know, I am a constituent of yours, and I vote in, you know, Los Angeles, and I live in Italy. I live in Switzerland. And then your message.
But we just decided that we wouldn't necessarily put FAWCO because we thought we don't want this to appeal like a big action from an organization. We want it to be individual.
Okay.
Any suggestions
Yes.
for people whose voting home is Washington, D.C.?
Oh, God.
Yeah. Do I have a suggestion? I thought you were going to give a suggestion.
Do you have a suggestion other than move to a different, you know?
Well, you do. If you do have a delegate, you have Eleanor Holmes, yes. But
No, okay.
support legislation to give Washington D.C. a vote.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Done that.
definitely. Or yes, move to Arlington or Bethesda or something.
Wherever it is done by.
So Margaret Spethman is not here, but she's here in spirit. And I'm obviously not Margaret, so I'm not going to do the presentation that she would have done. I'm going to go through these quickly. She simply wants you to know, is this okay? Yeah. She simply wants you to know the kinds of things that she's working on and the kinds of things that she can give you. And again, go to the website, download this, take a look at it yourself. But she has been going to clubs also, like Darlene and her associates. She's been going to clubs and giving particularly workshops on bank problems, access to banking, where you might be able to bank, under what circumstances, because that's something that everybody's concerned about. But also Margaret's becoming a big specialist in estate planning for overseas Americans. And that's really her thing, and she's getting very good at it because she has had to help, or she has begun to help a number of people find solutions. So use her for that and get in touch with her. She is U.S. tax, that's it, U.S. tax, there's no end, U.S. tax banking at FAWCO.org, right. So here are some of the places that she has been, and there are more, I believe you said, FAWCO, there are more that are coming, isn't that right? She has more that are already planned. Yes, okay, so this is not foreign banks closing down accounts for American customers here in this case, but U.S. banks. I'm getting a lot of mail these days from people in France who had, what day is today, the 10th, 9th? Well, for the next 3 days, 3 or 4 days, they're still going to be able to have accounts with Wells Fargo Advisory, just all U.S., gone, finished. And generally speaking, these banks that are closing your account because you have a foreign address just inform you, oh my gosh, you got a foreign address, we're closing your account, where do you want the check sent? So this is a big issue that Carolyn Maloney, fortunately, is very much interested in, and she happens to sit on the Financial Services Committee. So that's good, and when she got House Financial Services to look at the problem of Americans abroad losing their bank accounts, that's good. Okay, she, yes?
Does it depend on the branch? I still have accounts with Wells
I
Fargo.
do too, I do too. The, with Wells Fargo, but is it Wells Fargo Advisory?
No,
Brokerage.
actually, yes, you're right. The advisory suggested I use a U.S. address, you're right.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
kind of
It's the brokerage.
power of attorney on it, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But it does depend on the bank, very much. And what the banks are doing is telling you that it has to do with Know Your Customer rules under the Patriot Act. There is no law or legislation or anything that says that they can't maintain banks for you, accounts for you. But they're still closing things. As Darlene said a little while ago, it's just too complicated for them. And it's easier to just say, we don't want you anymore. So, again, yes, Darlene.
Ladies, under these intergovernmental agreements, the whole issue of intergovernmental agreements is in order for FAWCO to work, the U.S. government, every country has banking legislation, they have money laundering legislation. And
I'm sorry, Darlene.
Nobody can hear you.
Somebody could... I apologize. A bank would actually lose, a foreign bank would lose its banking license if they handed information over on any of their clients to any governing body. So the biggest hurdle that the U.S. government had was actually getting the countries to buy into this, just to change legislation. And so the carrot that the U.S. government has used in order to convince banks, and England was the first bank that signed this intergovernmental agreement, the U.S. government said, okay, we, the United States government, will hand over information on all individuals or companies or whatever in England with bank accounts in the United States. We will send that information over to you, England, so that you will see how many of your residents are not reporting income or assets or whatever they have in the United States.
So England said, holy mackerel, sign on the dotted line. We definitely want that. Every country needs money. Every country needs money. England thought that FAWCO was such a good thing and liked the concept and the theory behind the entire banking industry around the world reporting on the assets and the income generated by all of their account holders to the country of residence. They've actually put together their own FATCA-type legislation for all of the Commonwealth countries.
France is doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't surprise me. I mean, think about it. If Greece had any idea as to which country was holding all of the income and the assets for the for the individuals who are resident in their country, do you think they'd be in the position they're in today? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but this was the stick. So it's these intergovernmental agreements. Now the biggest issue is, and the biggest difference between these IGA 1 and the IGA 2 is under the one that Switzerland signed. They signed to say, okay, all of the banks have to report directly to the IRS. They don't report it to the government. In England, all of the banks report everything to the British government, who then sends information on to the IRS. Okay? Well, and I talked to the guys who were negotiating, and I said, excuse me, but why in the world would Switzerland want the banks to be reporting direct to the IRS rather than